This Sunday night, friends, begins the holiday of Shavuot, the annual holiday that celebrates the giving of the Torah to the Jewish people at Mount Sinai. And in that moment at Mount Sinai, the Jewish people became the Jewish people. It was a moment rooted in covenant, a moment of glory, and a moment of revelation. I read from Exodus 19. On the third day, as the morning dawned, there was thunder, lightning, a dense cloud upon the mountain, a very loud blast of the horn, and the people trembled. Moses led the people out of the camp, and they took their place at the foot of Mount Sinai. Mount Sinai was immersed in smoke, for Adonai had come down upon it in fire. The smoke rose, and the whole mountain trembled violently. The blare of the horn grew louder and louder, and as Moses spoke, God answered in thunder. Clearly, something big, something immense, was about to happen. A moment that is beyond our comprehension. Maimonides writes about this moment, we struggle to understand that moment of revelation, and we fail, because there was nothing to compare it to, never before or since. What was it that happened? Vayedaber Elohim et kol hadvarim ha'eleh. God spoke all of these words. And what were those words? The 10 Commandments. God spoke them. That was the moment. The moment of receiving Torah, the moment of God revealing God's self. That was the experience of it all. The lights, the sounds, out there in the wilderness, in the stillness of the desert. Pretty incredible. And according to the Midrash, you were there. And you were there. And you. And you. Midrash Tanchuma says, and not only was this moment of covenant and revelation with you, the people who are at the base of the mountain, but rather all the generations that have yet to come were also there at that time. All the souls were there, even those whose bodies had not yet been created. We were all standing there at the moment of revelation. Wow. Let's fast forward over a year from there in the timeline of the Torah. And we arrive at this week's Torah portion. This Shabbat, we begin the book of Bamidbar, also known as the book of Numbers, which begins with a taking of a census, a list of names of from each tribe, a counting of all of the Israelites, of all the people. The first 2 chapters of the book filled with lists of who and which tribe and where their tribe was camped. And then chapter 3 begins. This is the line of Aaron and Moses at the time that God spoke from Mount Sinai. These were the names of Aaron's sons, Nadav and Avihu, Eleazar and Itamar. Those were the names of Aaron's sons. Something was missing. It said, this is the line of Aaron and Moses. But Moses' children are not listed. An entire census of the entire people of Israel, and they didn't include our leader, Moses' kids? Did Moses have children? Rabbi Tali Adler points out that Gershom and Eliezer, Moshe's children, Moses' children, are actually not found very often in the Torah text at all. And then again, neither was Zipporah, Moses' wife. But were they there? Were they there at this moment of counting? Were they there at Mount Sinai when the Torah was given? We learn in the Torah that much earlier Moses had sent them to be with Jethro, with his father-in-law, for their own safety throughout the Exodus story. Some of our ancient texts assume that they were reunited with Moses at Mount Sinai, but not all of them. There's a group of Talmudic rabbis who are of the opinion that they were reunited with Moses after the moment of Matan Torah, after the giving of the Torah and God's revelation. It's pause and reflect on that for a moment. Moses' own kids were not there during the Exodus. Moses' own kids were alive and well and at the time of revelation, and they weren't there for that moment. These are arguably the two most important moments for our people in the entire Torah, and they weren't there? Are they even part of the covenant? Were they even like us at Sinai if they weren't there? These are questions for us as well. Have you ever wondered what exactly the Israelites heard in that moment? In the quiet and stillness of the desert, when God performed what I would call the loudest rock concert ever? I have. In Song of Songs Rabbah, a midrash, it teaches that all 10 commandments, all of the written and oral Torah, and all of God's revelation was heard in a single moment, in a single voice, in a single burst of sound, in a single moment. That's quite beyond comprehension. A singular sound and voice that echoed all at once throughout the universe and somehow entered into our world. Did you hear it? We were there. Are we supposed to hear it? To hear a voice that, if we have been told, we weren't even going to be able to live? God's voice was told to us that if we heard it raw, we would die. To hear the voice of God, not through the words of a prophet, but directly. Deuteronomy says it was a kol gadol v'lo yasaf, a great voice that was never heard again and was always heard again. It was God after all. The voice reverberated throughout time. It's kind of hard to imagine, isn't it? Of course it is. It's fantastical. It's outside of the realm of any rational scientific thought in our world. Even the notion that God was speaking to all of us, not only to those that were there, but those who were just recently released from the generations of slavery, people that had lost their sense of self and their human dignity, God was not only speaking to them, but to an elite group of leaders and to the common people and to all of us. To you and me. In the silence of the desert, the infinite sound was heard. How can we even begin to try to hear that? Sidebar. Sometimes when you're studying Torah and you're going deep down the rabbit hole of Torah, you find something that's worth it. The question is asked by our sages, is the reverse of this possible? If the entire world was to call out to God and pray all at the same time, in one moment, in one voice, would God be able to hear each individual? Yes. Humans are not like the divine, says the Midrash. Humans cannot hear two things at once, but the one who spoke the world into being, the one who gave the 10 Commandments and the Torah in one breath. Humans cannot hear two people screaming at them at once, but even if all of creation was to cry out before God, God hears their cries. Hence, God is called the one who hears prayers. All prayers. So this sermon so far, it's a little weighty, a little out there. So I want to bring us here a little bit more. Very often when I get to lead a Tot Shabbat or a preschool Shabbat, there's a song I like to sing. And I'd like to invite you to participate in it with me. We're getting ready for Shabbat and it goes like this. Put the chicken in the pot, stir it up till it's nice and hot. Getting ready for Shabbat, for Shabbat. Jacob, what should we put in the soup? Carrots. Put the carrots in the pot, stir it up till it's nice and hot. Getting ready for Shabbat, for Shabbat. Toby, what else should we put in the soup? Celery. Put the celery in the pot, stir it up till it's nice and hot, getting ready for Shabbat, for Shabbat. Now, I know that each of you are thinking of something that we could add to the soup. On the count of 3, I want to hear you all tell me at the same time. Are you ready? Echad, shtaim, shalosh. Put all that stuff in the pot, stir it up till it's nice and hot, getting ready for Shabbat, for Shabbat. That's what it must be like for God when we all pray. Back to Revelation. And Moses' children. How are we like them? How are we supposed to hear that moment if we aren't there? If you're like me, you probably thought at some point that if the Torah was given at Mount Sinai, it was like a great lecture given from the top of the mountain. I don't think that anymore. The revelation at Sinai would have been an overwhelming experience of the senses, not an intellectual exercise. This glorious cacophony of sound, of light, of God's truths being conveyed to us in so many different ways all at once, that's not a thing to hear or see. That's something to feel, to swim in, to be washing over you. I think that is the how and why of that moment. Revelation was meant to be felt, not understood. If Sinai was this glorious, overwhelming moment that was incomprehensible to human ears, what would it take for us to go beyond what we think that we know, to allow ourselves in these moments that we live in now to experience and feel the things that we don't understand? Moses' kids had to figure it out. So can we. What's something that makes you feel, wow? Something that you can't fully comprehend, but evokes big feelings. The soft skin of a baby or twins. The taste of an exquisite meal. A piece of art you find transcendent. The safety of a best friend. When a community survives a hurricane together. The last breath of a loved one as they leave this world. Those moments. That is the essence of the experience of Shavuot and Revelation. That indescribable yet very real and tangible feeling. Year after year, our people return to that moment at Sinai, to once again try to reopen ourselves to the possibility of the things that go beyond what we can understand, so that we can be there and hear, that we can hear everything and hear silence, that we could be individuals and also one people. We need that. Today's world is filled with so many things that we can't explain. Some good, many not. We need Shavuot to recenter us, to be together, to receive Torah, to reflect on what has been revealed and what we hope still will be. And you, and you, and you, and you. We're all a part of it. It sounds like a lot. We can't understand it all. And that's just fine, because you're not in it alone. When the children of Israel, well, except for Moses' kids, were standing at the base of Sinai, the Torah tells us that they trembled. How did they get through that moment that was unknown and beyond comprehension? They were together. Rashi asked what calmed and sustained the Israelites enough to go through this unknown. He says that Israel stood there as one person with one heart. So it should be for us. I want to invite you to come and join all of your rabbis to celebrate Shavuot at our night of Jewish learning on Sunday at 7. Let's study together. Let's experience it together. Let's eat cheesecake together. And then come and pray with us on Monday morning at 10:30 during our festival service with Yisker. Let's experience all of these revelations as one with one another, and as one with our tradition, as one with our God, as one as our ancestors and Moses' children did so long ago. Shabbat Shalom. Dr. Ike Kozio.